Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Ketchup, joined by Flea. This is week 7 of Stage 3 of the Quake Pro League. I just want to quickly say thank you so much for sticking with us. We have some updates for you. Just given, I believe there is some kind of like network blackout going on during where Avec is at this point in time, which means that Avec versus Base is not happening today. However, it is going to be played in the week, and their full match will end up on YouTube all the same. So the match is going to be played. It's just right now they're not in a position where they can play just due to reasons beyond their control. And it's going to be played later for the VODs to go on YouTube. Huge apologies for those that were really looking forward to the match. We were looking forward to it as well. These things happen, and you will see it at a shortly later date. That does mean our next match is going to be our last match, which is cha1n versus DaHanG.
And that's also going to be a very interesting one to finish off on, right? It's going to be a rematch from something we saw at the Stage 2 finals in Poland, where it was actually cha1n who managed to overcome DaHanG in, I think, a pretty huge upset. It was, bar none, cha1n his best LAN performance so far, right? I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. cha1n knocked out DaHanG as well as Cooler, two absolute top-tier contenders, and he did incredibly well at the tournament. So cha1n is one of the people that I think a lot of us are looking at as the glowing example of how the constant practice, the constant competition that the Quake Pro League fosters these days could really help players improve from a moment where, of course, they're already talented, really good players, but to a level where they can actually take down the likes of Cooler, or someone who's already gotten to put his name on the belt. So this is going to be a very interesting rematch.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's been like, I always suggest that you follow every player on social media if you use it. I assume most people do these days, but like, there's one thing about cha1n that is consistent is that he's not satisfied with a win unless it's 3-0. And I think he's a bit fed up of there being 2-1s and stuff. He's like, you know what? I need a 3-0. Like after a while, what's going on? So he's trying really hard now, I think, to just try and push that extra little step because he's already doing really well for himself. It's just this nature of he just wants a bit more, I guess, consistency with his dominance. And I guess if you're the kind of player that wants to win, you want to win as dominantly as you can. But we have got the picks and bans. Let me just quickly bring it up because I realized throughout this entire process I didn't bring it up my end. But the picks and bans between cha1n and DaHanG go as follows. Molten Falls up first with the Anarchy versus Nyx. Blood Covenant with Doomslayer versus Slash. We get to see more Slash coming out from DaHanG, always a treat. And then the final map, Awoken, Galena versus Ison. So a lot of these picks, they are very standard picks. And other than that, just excited to see what they bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting things off, 2 light champions on Molten Falls, definitely not an uncommon sight. You've got the Anarchy, he's got, of course, the air control, the extreme mobility, the ability to turn on a dime, whereas Nyx, very, very small frame. She's got the Ghost Walk to counter a lot of these sudden traps, these surprises that someone as fast as Anarchy might spring on you. And then moving on into Blood Covenant, we've got both the Doomslayer with the double jump, can easily make it across huge portions of the map with ease. But then on the other hand, Slash, if she gets a good crouch slide off, a nice little strafe jump, a circle jump, she can do the exact same thing. So these are especially looking like 2 very fast, high-octane matches. And then Awoken, despite being probably the smallest map out of the 3, might actually end up being one of the slower ones because we've got Galena versus Ison, 2 champions that rely a lot on their deployable items, the turret versus the totem. So that's going to be a more interesting, perhaps a more strategic, tactical match coming out of them.
I'm just naturally excited because of the kind of caliber of the 2 players that are going head to head. I think this is a really nice test for cha1n, especially off the back of his recent success. He had a great run at the Stage 2 finals, taking out Cooler, which is just insane, really. That's got to be the biggest result he's ever had in competitive Quake. And kind of not single-handedly, but was a huge part of really celebrating the growth of the Americas region, where quite a few of the players from that side of the world at the finals did very well for themselves. And there's been a steady growth with the Americas with every single LAN, and cha1n, understandably, a massive part of that. Now, DaHanG, carry on, continue.
No, I was just going to say that cha1n's growth is continuing during the online stage of Stage 3 as well, right? He has lost only once to Dewey. Other than that, he's taken down Nosa, he's taken out Effortless, taken out Psygip, he's taken out Dramis. This man is on an absolute tear, not just at the LAN, but also continuing so far into the online weekly stage.
Right, I can see this map is loading in, so in due time we'll be back again. I want to give a bit of a thank you to everyone that's been patient with it tonight, and we're ready to go. This, again, to remind everyone, is our final series of the day, Avec and Base being played in a few days' time with the VODs going on YouTube. So we're going to get this final series underway. If cha1n can win this, it is going to be quite a titan of the Americas to take down. But DaHanG, I mean, we've seen DaHanG time and time again. He's very calm and collected, and he does often bring his A game. He's been a little bit ropey as of late, but when he's playing the way we know he can, there's just a super high level of excellence there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in my opinion, this might as well be kind of a match to determine when it comes to NA in stage 3, who is the number 2, right? Rafa is the undisputable number 1, but I'm almost as far as willing to say that, you know, cha1n and DaHanG, with their track record in the weeklies this stage, both of them have a very solid claim to say, I'm number 2 in NA right now. So the outcome of this match is no doubt going to decide and settle that matter once and for all, as we are jumping into it, the first map of the final series of the day. We've got cha1n, we've got DaHanG.
Now, I'm going to be checking out cha1n's point of view and see how he kickstarts things. You can see Mega and Heavy. The Heavy has understandably been taken by DaHanG, and now cha1n. Good opportunity to disengage and go for somewhat of a trade, but there's a nice delay in between the two, and that's going to set up an interesting play. If someone can get an early fight here, we might be able to run that circuit a bit, but yeah, cha1n's been nice and careful.
Doesn't want to give up any free damage, let alone a frag this early on in the game. cha1n's got all the weapons he needs, so does DaHanG. They've both just collected their own item and then made a nice little run rotation of the map just to get themselves all the tools of destruction they need. Good opening rail, another one. cha1n's aim already on point, DaHanG unable to retaliate. He does manage to take himself the Heavy, but it will be cha1n who gets the better of that situation.
Jump pad's been used, which means cha1n has a potential opportunity, but again, it's the respect coming through. He knows, hang on a minute, that rocket certainly didn't tickle. And now he's going to double up and take some more denial in play, but yeah, that whole fight was pretty insane. That cha1n, if there's an angle, he's not given up yet. The only difference was through the teleporter, where he got some wonderful damage to kickstart. He's going to jump down. Ghost Walk's been used. Yeah, DaHanG, he's just looking to disengage right here. Not interested at all. But this is that delay coming in. That now DaHanG finds himself a bit on the back foot in terms of stack. And his Ghost Walk is down. So if he gets caught in a bad spot now, it's kind of troublesome.
Yeah, and that's usually how it goes when you're fighting a Nyx, right? You basically have to be there not once, but twice. First, you have to force out the Ghost Walk, then you have to get the correct read, apply consistent pressure, and then just manage to follow up with even more damage once he becomes visible and vulnerable once more. So cha1n now, he's got a small window of opportunity, just a few seconds left. Looks like it won't be a frag just yet, but he's dominant right now. And it's up to DaHanG to outplay that. He's got to play it cautiously. He's got to be safe. He doesn't want to give up any bad angles, because if he gets caught in a bad situation even once with the stack he has now, that's the end of the Ghost Walk, and it's going to give cha1n even more supremacy of the map.
Not enough damage to get DaHanG to use the Ghost Walk just yet, but there was a lot of respect being shown. That initial rail, the flick from cha1n, and that's going to put DaHanG worryingly down, and he has to disengage again. But funny enough, forced into a position to get the Mega, so it's not all bad. This is a very slow map, though. There is so much respect, and DaHanG, it's iconic of DaHanG, really, to show this much restraint and look for the right moment. We saw near the Heavy, he was just holding a rail angle, and when he saw it, it kick-started things, really, but now this fight's going to come through. The second he catches a sight of a rail not quite hitting its mark, DaHanG, that's his green light to go in. And just like that, a couple of missed rails for cha1n. He's given up some of his control, but that rail was enough to keep DaHanG a little bit more cautious.
Quite a lot of time left till the next major item. We've got 10 seconds before Heavy spawns. DaHanG does finally get himself another major. And now cha1n is in a bad position. One bad rocket to take could change so much for him. 71 out of absolutely nowhere. That's a huge rocket, DaHanG. Now he's got to be careful. Takes a bad rail as well. cha1n finds the shot to the back of the head. DaHanG unable to get out of the room in time. And that is going to be 1-0 for the Canadian.
and just waiting for that final moment to get that tiny little angle. And he was able to take it. And he's going to get an immediate rail. His rails have been like the saving grace of this map so far. It is only a 1-0, but it took just short of 4 minutes to reach that point. It just came down to that one shot. But some of them are punishing, though. These rails are sometimes being used in angles where you can catch a lot of the damage in between. DaHanG is in a tricky spot now, for sure.
Yeah.
He's just having to run away. And there goes the control again, Flea. Just cha1n consistently keeping a nice level of it.
cha1n's doing an excellent job right now. He's just throwing DaHanG off with these constant... He's just dancing and circling around the map. Now, he's got a pretty good idea of where DaHanG is. DaHanG has to go through the teleporter right there, but cha1n a bit wary to jump and follow through the teleporter because he knows that one bad rocket, if that's waiting on the other side of the teleporter, he might as well be losing his full control. Here we go, rocket jumping himself to get that speed boost. Mega will be his and his alone. DaHanG wisely decides he wants absolutely nothing to do with that item and is just gonna move to the other side of the map. He still has no armor to his name whatsoever. cha1n clearly wants to take advantage of that, but DaHanG is being very slippery right now.
And with that heavy about to spawn, DaHanG, is he looking for the information?
5-minute warning.
Yes, he is. Keeping an ear out for it. Oh, that's actually a pretty damn decent rocket to kickstart things. In 5 minutes, we've only seen one frag. Easily our slowest paced map of the entire day. But if you're DaHanG, I mean, this is the kind of patience. He knows he has time. There's 5 minutes on the clock. What's the rush? And he's been able to somewhat inch his way towards this Mega. I'm going to go and check out his weapons again. Understandably, he's got absolutely everything, but these rails, these are potentially what's going to turn the tide of this fight. The fact that DaHanG wasn't really able to answer back all that much, and cha1n has to bully his way towards the heavy once more. Ghost Walk is available, so DaHanG can be a little bit more aggressive if he wants to. Speaking of aggression, cha1n is going to push on some of it. And DaHanG again. Ooh.
Oh, that was close. That could have been 100. That absolutely could have been a direct pretty easily too. We've definitely got the lowest scoring game of the evening on our hands. Also, the lowest damage game so far. Both players are only at around 1,000 damage done 6 minutes in. If you contrast that to some of the matches we saw earlier, remember the Veil of Nav between the two heavies where there was like 5,000 damage each, more or less? This is very different.
What was it? Kilson? I can't remember who it was. Was it No, it was Cypher. I can't remember if it was Kilson or Cypher over 2,000 with just the rail alone.
Oh yeah, that was Cypher.
Yeah, recently. But again, just a drop down towards the Mega and cha1n getting a little bit of that bonus tri-bolt damage, but we're seeing pretty much the kind of same strategy walking through the entirety of this map. Neither player wants to overextend, but that jump pad is going to get punished heavily. A lot of damage and a rail to make it even worse. DaHanG, 1 health. This is not where you want to be. cha1n doesn't even need to have the rail out at this point. All he needed was a machine gun. He just had to sneeze on DaHanG to take him out. I am very amazed that DaHanG managed to survive that. And hang on a minute. Is he going to be able to turn this tide? The rocket! DaHanG! I cannot believe not only did he survive, but he got a frag there.
Knowing DaHanG, he's going to sit there and say that was undeserved. You know that he talks down to himself too much when he's streaming, and you know that those are the kind of things that go through his head, but he shouldn't reason that way ever. That was a fair frag, a good play. cha1n messed up with the positioning right there. DaHanG took perfect use of it, and here we go. The rails are coming out. cha1n has to give up positioning, can't stick around for the Mega. DaHanG turning things around. Just 2 frags in 7.5 minutes.
I've always been more in the mindset, though, of no matter what happens, it's not DaHanG's problem. Like, what happens, happens. And if he can capitalize to the point where he can turn it around, who cares whether it's considered deserved or not? You know, it is what it is. And if it's put him into a 1-1, he's got full control now. He still had to capitalize on that, didn't he? You know, he still had to make the most of it. And now DaHanG's in a brilliant position.
That said, though, as good as DaHanG's position might be, he needs at least 1 more frag to win this one, and this might be the one. Yeah.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah.
Decides at this last minute, cha1n, he's had such a wonderful hold over this map so far. With these long games, it does introduce an interesting dynamic when there's only, there's less than 2 minutes left. You've played so calm and reserved, but now the chips are down and you might have to start being a bit more aggressive. What do you do? How do you rise to that occasion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You hate to see it. You knew it was coming, but still hurts. That's a shame for cha1n though, because he had been playing such a good game, avoiding DaHanG's damage, and then with a minute 30 left to go, he just turns a corner and he gets pinned into a wall with rockets. So painful outcome for him. Perfect read from DaHanG, but actually it's cha1n doing most of the damage with that flyby rail. But he needs a lot more than just that. A minute left to go, 2 frags, definitely possible. DaHanG doesn't have his Ghost Walk right now. This is an opportunity for cha1n. He can't waste too much time going for the items, but he just doesn't have that much of a stack himself. No armor to his name whatsoever, so that's difficult for the Canadian.
Scary for cha1n because now his movement is going to be quite predictable as he has to machine gun around this map, just trying to find DaHanG, and DaHanG's going to concede this control now. He's going to allow it to happen. cha1n's going full speed. There's the defensive Ghost Walk, but he's already dedicated. He has already dedicated towards Rocket, and now he has to find DaHanG again. Looks like he's found it, but he hasn't quite hit the rail. That one missed rail might be quite punishing, as now the fight towards Vegas is going to take place, but guess what? DaHanG has the stack, and he's in a better position. SSG is going to do the job. Plenty of health, and yeah, that's the game changer right there, and it all just came down to that one frag, that one sequence where DaHanG just got that bonus frag around the corner, and it put cha1n in a terrible position.
Yep, that is going to be DaHanG showing once again why he is one of the best players in NA, taking down cha1n, and that was an extremely patient game from the American player, right? Because he was on the back foot for so much of that, lost out on a frag pretty early on, and then he just was trailing and trailing and trailing for around 7 minutes, up until he found cha1n, tied things up, and after that he just didn't give the Canadian much of an angle back into the match at all. So GG, definitely off to a good start for DaHanG.
That's the kind of map that, even though it's map number 1, it just gets your mind racing and doing overtime sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, to play that calm and reserved, like that does require a lot of discipline to do that. I expect nothing less of someone like DaHanG, absolutely. But there's always a similar vein, and I don't like ever, you know, when you talk about DaHanG, I don't like talking about Rafa too much. And I know that they're teammates and they've been, you know, they've been bros for a long time, you know, ex-teammates in 2v2 sacrificed the legacy of Quake Champions. But when it comes to how the two of them can put a hold over a map once they establish a lead, you see a lot of that in DaHanG as well. Absolutely. Yeah. That when DaHanG establishes his presence, he too is historically very hard to take it from because he just plays so mechanically. He's one of the most timing heavy players we have in the scene. Well, that is his primary objective all the time. So when he gets control, when he has the, you know, the upper hand, and he's got that much timing in his mind, like you need to do something special to throw the spanner in the works, to just throw things off. I imagine it's not easy.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, DaHanG is widely known to be one of the absolute best timers in all of Quake. He just has an uncanny ability to keep track, not just of the Mega and the Heavy, but also rotate between the small armors as well. So once he gets into that complete sense of control, as you mentioned, I think Rafa might have a slight edge when it comes to the downright tactical prediction of his opponent, but DaHanG has just got an extremely tight grip on the items that's so difficult to break. And it's going to be interesting to see if cha1n is going to be able to make anything different happen this time around. He's got the double jump, so he'll have an easier time traversing across the map, but of course Slash has got the raw speed, he's got that mobility, and that is going to make her very difficult to catch off guard.
Well, this kind of matchup, it's always speed versus speed in a different way. Now, that double jump makes a huge difference, where when you think of like maneuverability and mobility, you normally think of speed as in most games, you would think of speed as being like the be-all, end-all kind of mechanic. Right. But this double jump on a map like Blood Covenant, you can just go from, if you're controlling that high ground, you can just go from point A to point B, like no execution, blink and he's one side of the map to the other, because it's just a couple of double jumps and he's there. But we're loading into Blood Covenant now. Here we go. DaHanG rocking the Slash. Always a treat to watch some Slash.
It's also interesting because this is a matchup where I expect very little active abilities being used, right? I feel like Berserk is one of those abilities that are so situational, they almost never get popped. Whereas Slash, yes, she uses her Plasma Trail every so often, but it's not integral to how you might go about playing her. So this is also an interesting matchup in that regard, in my opinion.
I would definitely be inclined to agree. Like, that Plasma Trail was used for instant speed boost and mobility. That's a very convincing and comfortable first frag, though. cha1n just being in the perfect position to just lay that rocket down. And it's when he gets off this. So the Mega gets collected. There is a trade in between the two of them. But cha1n, he has the upper ground, which is so dangerous in this kind of setting because you have you have loads of information and you have loads of opportunities to just pepper down rails. I'll quickly go check over DaHanG. Yeah, DaHanG doesn't have access to a rail yet. So that is going to be quite troublesome. If cha1n's able to maintain this high ground and deny this rail at every turn, it's automatically a little bit trickier for DaHanG. Ends up with an opening rail, something that DaHanG can't shut down just yet. Has got access to some rockets, though, but he needs a bit more than that.
Definitely true. That item or weapon denial. Oh, I think DaHanG was expecting cha1n to have left already. Coming back up the bounce pad without even a second look or a moment of hesitation. But DaHanG has got that speed, makes his way back around, secures the heavy. cha1n, though, I think he is still able to deny the railgun. Yeah, DaHanG still doesn't have that long-distance weapon. Look at that perfect read from cha1n! He just knew that DaHanG was going over towards heavy, that he was going to lose out on the armor, but he also realized that that was the perfect position for DaHanG to try and get railgun by going up the stairs and jumping across. So I love the play from cha1n to just wait it out and getting a perfect read and a perfect rocket as well.
Yeah, there was also the knowledge that DaHanG is very conservative with A, how much information he gives out, and B, his own stack. So he was so unlikely to use a rocket jump up there that it's even more of a safe bet that DaHanG is going to play it safe. But either way, yeah, a 2-1. DaHanG did spawn near the Mega, so that was somewhat of an opportunity to just start off a little bit chunkier than he would be. But what does he get from this? DaHanG managed to get himself a frag. Oh, good rail from cha1n. Unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit undone thanks to the Mega being swiftly taken, but it's what DaHanG can do with this. He's just running a complete circuit. cha1n getting some beautiful situations with the rocket at the very least. Like he knows that DaHanG is taking the items. He's doing what he can to try and deny some of the damage. And actually, heavy still hasn't been taken. DaHanG's going to optimize this a little bit.
Yeah. That's a shame for cha1n. If he would have looked to the right, he could have seen heavy still up, and he could have probably taken it, but actually pulling horizontal rocket jump, get himself out of the room as quickly as possible. And cha1n, though, still one frag in the lead. The drop! Hang on, DaHanG caught completely by surprise, and it's actually the Canadian doing a good amount of damage, but the rail will take him down. Still, that was not all that bad for cha1n, because he did do around 160 damage with those rockets. Fortunately.
You mentioned timing on DaHanG, that when that fight broke out, DaHanG had started that fight by doing a little bit of a play on the heavy to get the light armor first, and then take the heavy afterwards. That allowed him to have timing of both of them. So when he doubled back for that fight, he was at the light right as it appeared.
Very true. DaHanG, a master of keeping track of all the items around the map. cha1n will be able to secure the two major ones though, but that's not so much to do with DaHanG's ability to time, but rather cha1n his dominance of the map for the time being. cha1n missing a railgun though, an important weapon that he no doubt wants to get his hands on because he's been using it to great effect, but the heavy machine gun is working quite nicely as well.
That tricky nature of the jump pad double jump from Doom. DaHanG did try and get that initial rail, but it's a little bit harder to get a rail on a jump pad against a Doomslayer because they can double jump whenever they want. Kind of like a ledge grab, but not at the ledge, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And cha1n hitting a very respectable 50% railgun on a target as small and fast as Slash. That is incredibly impressive, especially against a master of the crouch-slide movement like DaHanG. So his aim definitely not letting off just yet. And he needs more than just aim.
Both players kind of trading missed rails in that situation, but what's important is cha1n maintains the stack. DaHanG is not super shy of giving up some of this control if it means he can at least have that speed to put himself into angles for rails. Like right now, he's just looking for range shots first. If he can just get a couple of uncontested rails that cha1n doesn't really have an answer for because DaHanG's just holding an angle and he's in and out before you've even realized what's happened, this stack won't matter as much. You can see DaHanG he's comfortable keeping cha1n at kind of arm's reach.
And that's more or less what cha1n is going for. He's just trying to trap DaHanG right now and avoid that unnecessary damage because he knows that that is his weakness, and that's exactly what the American player is going for. DaHanG just wants to stay quick and nimble on his feet, keep dashing around the map, looking for a quick rail, a quick rocket, and then just disappearing out of cha1n's sight. So cha1n, it's got to be hyper vigilant about that. That's exactly the kind of rail that we were talking about.
But again,
tiny angle.
DaHanG once more. He's been constantly around a light armor, 2 light armors in fact, and he chose not to take either of them because he'd only lost 10 armor. So you just know the way DaHanG approaches light. So speak to him about it. He's always going to tell you about this idea of taking the damage or being willing to take the damage first, and then you back off and then take it a little bit later. There's a lot of optimization with how DaHanG approaches this. He's just not going to look at something and just kind of snap it up immediately. I know that's obviously nowhere near DaHanG specific, but it's something that he does a lot.
I mean, he is the resident accountant of the Quake Pro League. Good rail cha1n. There we go. Again, establishing a small lead, but a lead nevertheless. Hangs behind him. Ooh, that rocket could have hurt. Heavy up in just 2 seconds. Nice little rail. Can he find another one?
Really good shots coming out from cha1n. Just needs one more.
Oh,
and now he's looking. No, can't hit the angle. And Flea, this is a competitive map.
Oh god, he shouldn't have. Either he should have gone for rail or nothing at all. But heavy machine gun when you're railable yourself against a smaller, faster target like Slash, that was definitely a misplay from cha1n.
We'll see if he'll live to regret it, as we're now shortly coming to an end on this Blood Covenant. DaHanG did win map number 1, so this is kind of warning signs for cha1n. You said it yourself, this could very well be a kind of a battle to decide who's currently number 2 in the Americas with the track record cha1n's had recently in stage 3. If he gets this map, the fact that he's hitting these rails versus a Slash that's going this fast is super impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. He had the perfect angle lined up. All they had to do was press the button and click the head the moment she flew by. And that's exactly what cha1n did. Just setting up a trap as well. Here's DaHanG, the rocket, the 0 damage. That one does a whole lot, but cha1n still. The LG, it's murderous. He's got to be careful. Doesn't want to risk it now. He knows that if he drops another frag with 2 minutes left, DaHanG's just going to run circles around him until the end.
Really nice crouch sliding nail jump to put DaHanG near that teleporter inches faster. And it might even have been that crouch sliding nail jump that allowed him to surprise cha1n like that, because I'm not 100% convinced cha1n was fully prepared for that, like him to be at teleporter that fast.
No. Absolutely not. That was a beautiful play from DaHanG and just really shows the skill levels involved in the movement alone, right? Because we keep talking about how good the aim is on these pro players, because that's of course something that people can easily relate to and it's just nice and flashy. But the movement is such an important part of playing Quake at the highest levels. It's not as easy to pick up, but sometimes you still just see these brilliant little finesses come out of players like DaHanG. It's wonderful.
That's when you see trick jumps that regular players will practice for hours, and then these players will just get it first try every time. And it's like, wish I were you. Wish I had your hands, to be honest.
And it's also done in a very high stakes setting, right? This is not a practice custom game. This is not a casual match. This is the Quake Pro League. Points are on the line. So for these players to go for these little jumps like that and then manage to nail them too, beautiful. But that being said, we've got 30 seconds left on the clock. DaHanG, 1 frag ahead. He does have a stack disadvantage, but it's up to cha1n to catch him right now. cha1n trying to find out where the Slash is at. There we go. He catches sight of her. But as we mentioned, it's going to be so difficult to catch her. The juke! He's going to find her.
Hang on a minute.
One more will do it.
He needs a little bit more. No choice but to go all charge for the rocket.
Yes.
No, can't quite swap to the right weapon. cha1n getting the critical shot at the last second. He's a little bit tender though. Thank you very much to the heavy. DaHanG, we're going into sudden death, and yeah, that was a beautiful chase. And cha1n's, the option to chase there was so good.
Absolutely, that was a beautiful play. That rocket, that could have taken DaHanG's face clean off.
Right past his. I'm pretty sure I heard that fly by.
Another rail. cha1n gets the right read, lands the damage, and down goes DaHanG. That is 1-2-1. cha1n really putting in the effort. He is showing exactly what he's capable of. Anyone who is still doubting him before the start of this match, they're gonna have to eat their words.
I mean, without question. It's the kind of thing where, like, cha1n, he's already been on, like, a really nice progression. I don't know why I was looking for so many other words. That's the word to use, is that he's been on a tear. And against DaHanG, after the first map, I was a little bit like, not so sure. After a fair amount of Blood Covenant, it's also fair to assume that maybe DaHanG has a bit more of a hold, but it's just cha1n. He just hit those amazing shots, and he had those angles ready to go too. And it's the manner of which he made it look quite easy. Like when you're against a slash that is going that fast, especially in the hands of someone like DaHanG, if you're able to just hold those tiny little angles, we don't have much room to squeeze in a rail, but that one rail that you hit, it just changes the momentum entirely, because now,
Absolutely.
maybe DaHanG can't be aggressive anymore. Maybe he has to worry about this or worry about that, whatever it might be. cha1n almost every single time hit what he needed to hit. And not only that, but yeah, his reads of how to chase DaHanG in those last seconds, extremely clutch, very impressive, and 1-1, final map.
I mean, this is Blood Covenant is shaping up to be one of cha1n's best maps, because that is also more or less the exact same way he beat Cooler back at the Stage 2 finals. It came down to a final rail landed on Blood Covenant, very close, basically in overtime, and so cha1n is really putting in the work, as you said, the progression, the evolution, the accomplishments that this man can put on his belt. They just keep growing. The Canadian player is definitely making his mark on the Pro League more and more.
I mean, you mentioned it as well. Like, I just actually went back and consulted the picks and bans just to refresh my memory. The Athena was like the first thing that was removed from play, because that's one of cha1n's star champions. It's always nice to see a player like cha1n, where it's like he's known for this kind of champion. It's one of the things he's famous for. But even without it, look at his performance and just look at what he brings to the table. Everyone in the Pro League now is just displaying their levels of just multi-champion talent, because it's all the fundamental skill. The champions are the extension of what you're doing, but the fundamentals are there for cha1n, and he's just been bringing it. This could be, I mean, I don't know how to call this. I have no idea how to call this final map. Chat, 1 for cha1n, 2 for DaHanG. I want to know what you think. Tweet this out for the final map of the day, week 7, stage 3 of the Pro League. Hashtag Quake Pro League. Let's get started.
DaHanG versus cha1n on Awoken, both slower champions than the map before. We've got cha1n versus the Galena, so we've got totems and turrets galore. Immediately a very aggressive push from DaHanG. cha1n defensively having to use that heavy nail gun. Gets himself a railgun as well. And now Mega. There's already a sizable delay between the two major items. Mega is 10 seconds earlier than Heavy, meaning that whoever comes out on top of this first engagement can probably manifest themselves to get a good positioning, and it will be DaHanG.
And he has been able to snap himself up a rail too, so this has become quite an even exchange in terms of weaponry. cha1n is going to spring somewhat of a trap, but not a lot of rocket damage almost immediately. However, with the heavy in play, DaHanG's looking to push out just a little bit. And now, stack advantage is going to be DaHanG's, but not for long. Spoke too soon. The rail coming through for cha1n, who again is holding a lot of angles that are just catching DaHanG.
cha1n holding the center of the map. Those rockets, though, they're doing much more damage than he was expecting or hoping for. Does manage to stick himself up a little bit, but just look at the stack difference right now. DaHanG can just bully cha1n wherever he wants to go. He's even gonna deny the small armor. cha1n puts himself in such a dangerous position. He wasn't expecting DaHanG to just drop down. He was expecting DaHanG to jump across to Rocket and then make his way over to Heavy. And he just wanted to land a sneaky rail, but got a bit of damage in return. Still though, cha1n alive somehow. But this is looking a little bit precarious.
It's how he's been able to stop the bleeding too. I know he's out of armor at the moment, but the fact he even got away with his life in this exchange. DaHanG, however, though, in a better position for the Mega, as he is now also on the high ground, giving him a beautiful little rail teleport just like that. But yeah, cha1n consistently running for his life at the moment, and as he's running up, as he's playing to not die, he's having to concede control, and that is a bit of a warning sign here as DaHanG being so crazy mechanical. Finally springs a trap. Likely cha1n might go down. No, gets the teleporter again, and somehow cha1n just refuses to die, Flea.
This must be starting to frustrate DaHanG at least a little bit. cha1n
still
just
alive,
dancing away with 4 points of health. There we go. DaHanG finally finds the kill shot to get himself that 1-0 lead on the board, almost knocking cha1n off the map right there. That missed rail, that's gonna cost him dearly. DaHanG decides not to chase directly. Just doubles back around to get himself the heavy. Clever play. Oh, that's information. That's information for DaHanG.
The moment he heard the rail come through too, he knew that was a green light to go through the teleporter, because cooldown, you're not going to answer back and damage me at all. Control remains in the favor of DaHanG. That's now cha1n. Consistently, he's around the areas for the major items, but they're certainly not up. And now with cha1n, we just pay close attention all the time to just how rarely cha1n actually has armor.
He's got his totems though. Gets himself up to 100, but that won't last very long if you take a direct rocket, so he needs more than just that. But still happy to see that cha1n is able to master the defensive play a bit more. He used to be much more known for his highly aggressive moves, but definitely slowing things down when it needs to be. So that's one of those concrete signs of his improvement that we can point at. Much more patient, reserved than he used to be. Sneaky little rail from DaHanG indeed. cha1n has yet to get the max totems going though, so hasn't been able to get the overstack heal.
It's in the nature of someone like DaHanG, who is kind of ruling the entirety of this map so far. He has so much control, and cha1n is playing such a defensive game that DaHanG is being able to kind of navigate a lot more of the map. And a higher chance for him to find totems. Oh god, 180! Just the blink of an eye. You play defensive and then you blink and you're dead.
Yeah, and I was about to compliment cha1n on his slow play. How he's managing to keep it to such a close game, because that's exactly what he needs to do. But then that happens, and now here we go. He needs to land so much shotgun damage, and that's exactly what he does. DaHanG will fall, and cha1n picked up heavy. He's picking up mega. He's got a good position. Lands a nice vertical rail as well. Can he find some more damage? DaHanG goes through a teleporter. cha1n catches a glimpse on him.
DaHanG's in a tricky position because he only has an LG. Going towards that rocket, I mean, it's nice and attractive, but if cha1n's holding an angle there, definitely a suicide mission. And heavy. We can see that's spawned on the map now as DaHanG kind of has that in mind, but it's all about information. DaHanG just does not have the weapons he needs. That's why he's peppering down heavy machine gun. Going towards a rail, which is going to be certainly a good start, but with no armor, has to watch out for a lot of these shots! Oh. And that armor, he just picked up a light, and that rocket got rid of all of it. Here comes that ranged fight. Both players missing their rails. DaHanG, is he going to be able to get out? Looking for a bonus ankle perhaps, but no. Keeping his 2-1 lead, throws down the turret, but not without taking a lot of that tri-bolt damage.
Still though, cha1n, excellent job at keeping this a controlled, tight game. And I think that a lot of players would have been making a lot of mistakes by now. Just by picking way too aggressive a fight, trying to overextend when it was really not necessary, but cha1n, so disciplined. Gotta love to see it. Even though DaHanG has control, cha1n is managing to take away at least one of the items, do damage consistently with the railgun, and he's gonna get his opportunity. He just needs to keep playing the way he is. She's looking good too.
Quite even on the exchange there for damage.
Yeah.
cha1n. Ooh, sticking around a bit longer to get that tri-bolt. The penalty though was another rail angle from DaHanG. These have definitely been the closest match that we've had all day. And I think it's quite fitting, hopefully, that you should say this could be a battle to decide who the current number 2 is. And look at how neck and neck this whole ordeal has been.
Yeah, DaHanG so low right now. cha1n lands a nice little rail shot, but he needs just a little bit more.
Oh, the rail! That was even risky, because even if DaHanG hit that rail when cha1n was ready, DaHanG would have died by a counter rail with only 67 HP left.
And cha1n gives up the mega, or the heavy rather. Mega will be going his way, but heavy taken by his opponent. Definitely not the outcome that he was hoping for. But DaHanG managed to slip through the cracks in the net right there. cha1n knows exactly where DaHanG is right now. But can he catch a glimpse of him? He still has enough time to work with. 3 minutes for one frag on a map like Awoken. Plenty. So he doesn't need to rush himself just yet.
This is that situation now with DaHanG. Happy with his range so far. And as long as he's got information, as long as he's got audio cues, I think he's going to be satisfied for now. He knows that he has the lead to work with. It's a tiny lead, but The more information he has, the better. He can potentially spring some of those traps to get some of the initial damage. cha1n, I just love the fact that he knows that's exactly what DaHanG's trying to do. So every time he's risking himself up with an angle, he's making sure there is some kind of damage being peppered out at the same time. And just like that, actually, he's put himself in a great position. DaHanG, critical health, 46 HP to work with, and that's pretty much all she wrote. And now he's having to play from behind almost immediately. How much control is he willing to give up, though, to survive?
It's a wonderful decision from cha1n. Not to chase DaHanG, but just to go for the heavy right there. Now, if he can just land a little bit more damage, misses the rail, though. cha1n, you gotta find your opponent. 2 minutes left. DaHanG, he might have heard him. I think he did. I think he's got a decent idea of where his opponent is.
And this is that defensive game coming through, and I'm not surprised to see it. Not much left of the map, and there is a fair amount of stuff that DaHanG can just kind of control. You know, he's got the heavy nearby. He has enough rail to work with. There's a few lights to pick up. And now, again, it's just back to the information game. Just look at how slow DaHanG is playing this.
DaHanG hasn't left that corner of the map in like a minute and a half right now. He is still just sitting over where the power-up spawns, holding down the rail side of the map. cha1n is gonna spring the aggression. That's a decent rocket, but he has to, of course, remain cautious about the turret.
That patient game from DaHanG once more. Better position for the Mega. Snaps it up happily. Did use his turret, though, a little bit in the early exchange. So it's going to control the rail just a little bit. There's that 1 minute warning. cha1n has to make something happen, and he is running out of time. But while he's running out of time, DaHanG staying true to his defensive game and looking for those rail shots more than ever. Because if cha1n now has to press the panic button, those rails become a little bit more obvious to hit. But hang on a minute. Looking for the rail. Can he deny? Oh, he can't! Potentially game over if DaHanG can't get this Mega. And that's the Mega taken. I think that may be the end, unless cha1n pulls a miracle.
Oh, the 3 points of health left for DaHanG. Any damage would have done it. A bullet of the machine gun, a single bullet of the shotgun, anything would have killed him right there. You saw cha1n switch to the LG, right? But he was just out of range to actually land a cell of damage, and that is going to cost him dearly. Oh, I feel like he might regret that one, because that would have absolutely been a tight game. He would have been able to take the heavy. Things could have changed completely in cha1n's favor right there.
It's insane how costly one tiny little mistake that in any other circumstance wouldn't be considered that bad.
Yeah.
Any other game mode, any other kind of situation, that one little bit of damage. Here, a whole map in a series gone with 2 highly competitive players, and that was close up until the last minute. DaHanG inching it out and maintaining his stature and position as number 2. In the Americas, and that overall was just a damn good match. And again, even though cha1n did not get the victory, a real celebration of his skill and his growth as a player. We've seen that a lot today, and cha1n is a huge example of that.
Props to the Canadian player, right? We've been hyping him up all day long, and I think he delivered. Even though he didn't manage to edge out the win, he still clearly showed why he is, without a doubt, among one of the best players in the world. Knocking out DaHanG at the last land, taking down Cooler at the Stage 2 finals, and now it came down to the wire. A single bullet could have changed everything and landed cha1n this win, but for the time being, DaHanG still reigns supreme. But I don't think cha1n has got anything to feel bad about. That was an incredible performance. GG, well played, no doubt.
Now, overall, that's resulted in an interesting day, I think. I think it's a nice demonstration of just kind of where everybody is sitting at the moment. Sorry, got tongue twisted. But overall, I know cha1n's going to be disappointed with that, you know, because he's a competitive guy. He has been doing extremely well as of late, and DaHanG would have been like one hell of a person to take down along his rampage. It's just, it was so close up until the last final moment. That was too close to call, and even was at a 1-1 situation because of the crazy amounts of clutch cha1n displayed on Blood Covenant. So it's like he's going to be unhappy, but I definitely think he can leave that set with his head held high all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we said, it came down to the wire, right? Very, very solid effort. DaHanG, he doesn't always manage to deliver his very best, but even if he doesn't manage to, it doesn't really matter, because his second best is still so much better than just about anyone else out there. I saw a quick match of DaHanG playing a practice game against Rafa last night, and he actually beat him. Rafa, the man who hasn't dropped a map in God knows how long, lost to DaHanG. So for cha1n to now barely lose against the American player, no shame in that whatsoever. A wonderful series to end the night on, I think.
But it's been a fun day. It has been a fun day of decent games. Obviously, we can check out what the journey has been. cha1n versus Wenger. That was one hell of a way to start things off with the 2-1. Nosfa taking it over Sib. Cygib with the 3-0 versus Effortless. And then Kilson with the 3-0 versus Sparty. We can then check out, it was the Rafa 3-0 versus Dramis. Avec versus Base, again, to remind anyone that might have just joined late, just due to issues outside of anyone's control, they're not able to play today. They are playing later in the week, and the match will be uploaded to YouTube. So rest assured, didn't happen today, but the match is happening. Pinky promise. And then Cypher versus Toxic. I mean, that was just crazy. That was for me like my favorite match to watch of the day because it was just insanity all the way through. And then finally, cha1n versus DaHanG, the narrowest of the narrow 2-1. It has overall been a decent day of Quake.
I think it has been more than a decent day. And also, don't forget, guys, if you are interested in the Quake Pro League, these players, every single player you've seen today, they're active on Twitch, they're active on the socials. Don't forget to go shout them out, give them a follow, drop by their stream. You can interact with them, watch them play live, learn a thing or two, and just congratulate them on their amazing performance. So hashtag Quake Pro League, don't forget to spread the word.
100%. I mean, it's like you said, pretty much all of these players do make content. It's mostly live streaming and social media. Pretty sure every single player here would appreciate, shout outs and follows and all kinds of stuff because the grind is real and it never ends. It's the Quake Pro League has given a lot of these players an opportunity to be hungrier in Quake Champions than they've ever been because it's weekly competition. The growth of the players, like on just a skill level alone, we are just seeing the proof. We say the proof is in the pudding over here, right? You just see that in its truest form. If you compare stage 1, especially the Americas, the players in this part of the world, if you compare a lot of them in stage 1 to now, and then you kind of just pay attention to where the lands have been almost like brick by brick, they've been doing better and better and better. Wouldn't have been possible if not for this weekly competition and the excuse to scrim at last.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's money on the line, there's the Quake Pro League itself, there's the fame, the legend that all comes with it. So players now, for first time in quite some while, they've got a consistent incentive to play and not only just practice, but go head to head against some of the absolute top players in the entire world on a weekly, very structured basis with a LAN after every single 10-week period. So we are definitely seeing players hit new heights for some of the ones that I think a lot of viewers might have thought, you know what, these are really good players, but they're still not among the very top in the world. But I think that that's slowly starting to shift, and we're seeing the distance between some of the best ones and, what might be considered the second best one is closing and narrowing over time.
So I've just been checking out, we have the updated global ranking, well, we should have at the very least, and it's quite interesting to me, actually. Excuse me. The matchup we just saw between Toxic and Cypher, I was really keeping a close eye on that because they were right next to each other on the leaderboards. And now Toxic has put himself into 198 and Cypher is 2 points behind. That one map the two things. The fact that it wasn't a 3-0 and I guess in the same way, the fact that Cypher made it a 2-1 in the last minute means they are right next to each other. Obviously, we can see Base with the 196. However, Base and Avec will be playing, and that will be updated later when they play their match. Again, make sure you're following the Quake Champions YouTube. That's where the matches and all of this VODs action will be uploaded, and you can catch the action there. And the leaderboards, I'm sure, will be updated as they go. But I think, Flea, that should be all she wrote for today. Do you want to say anything to the lovely people at home before we finish up?
I mean, don't forget, Quake Champions free to play on Steam. Go and get it, right? There's the Challenger Leagues also going on. Keep in mind that the bottom 2 players in the EU and the NA side of the bracket, they will have to defend their position against the best of the challengers at the upcoming LAN tournament, at the upcoming finals. So if you think you've got what it takes, download the game. It's free to play. Go ahead and give it a try, and maybe you will be going head to head against one of these pros sometime soon.
100%, man. There's no better time to play than right now, I think.
Yeah.
And again, I always say it, and I will say it especially now. A huge thank you to everyone that makes this whole machine happen, the hardworking online production people that are doing work from home as we speak during everything that's going on in the world right now, all the players and all the stuff. It's a pleasure to be a part of, and I'm glad the show can continue. From me to you, everyone at home, my name is Ketchup, joined by the ever talented Flea for this edition of Quake Pro League. Much love, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.